Hello, everybody. It's Chris Mullins, the phone sales doctor, with another one of your monthly phone sales intake training sessions. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. It's wonderful to be here again with everyone. Don't forget that if you have any questions, please email me at phonesuccess, SUCCESS, doctor, DOCTOR, @gmail.com. Questions, comments, not a problem. Just send them off to me. I want to remind everybody that it doesn't really matter what type of law firm you work at, like what kind of practice area that you're in. With regards to these training sessions I'm doing for you, I try to play all different types of law firms, and it doesn't matter what kind of practice you have. The skills that I'm teaching, I mean, really, to be honest with you, intake and conversion and selling over the phone, it's really an art. It's an art, okay? And it's very important, but it is a skill that you can learn if you have the right mindset, the mindset of embracing versus resisting, because if you resist, it will persist. And I know some folks are not really fond of the language of salesmanship and have challenges with empathy. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you and to guide you and coach you and mentor you. So we're in this all together, but I just want to make sure that you know, if you hear law firm call recordings that I play, that it is not the practice area you're in, don't let that bother you. The skills that I'm teaching, the art form that I am teaching, the anatomy of an intake call that I'm teaching applies to all law firms, all practice areas, all sizes. It doesn't matter, okay? So I just want to make sure that you know that. Now I'm going to go ahead and play a call. And these calls that I play are real, live, recorded prospect calls for law firms. But because of that, I will fast forward periodically throughout the call recording, because I don't want you to hear like the name of the practice or the social security number and things like that. So, but you'll still understand the core of the call and what I'm teaching. So make sure that you make notes, and let's get ready. Here we go. Okay. Now, the beginning of this call, it was a good greeting. And I do look at my notes, by the way. So for those of you that are new, I definitely look at my notes. But the person that handled the call initially, she did a great job with the greeting. She did say the name of the law firm. She did say her name and how can I help you at the end. So that's fine. I just don't want to play that part because of the law firm. So let me go ahead and begin. And this is after the greeting.
I called you all about 4 months ago, and you told me to.
So listen closely. This gentleman called this law firm about 4 months ago. So these are the things I want you to think about.
Call y'all back when I get my Social Security paperwork back, my turn down letter.
What is your name?
And I got it. Joe Nathan Young.
So there's no reason why you can't provide empathy to this gentleman. I mean, he said he had a turn down letter, so he was denied Social Security. So just say, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so you have your greeting, you get the person's name, but you can provide some empathy about their situation that they're calling about, and tell them that we get calls like this all the time and they made the right decision calling today. And so, you know, that's the little bit of salesmanship right there. So let's go ahead and continue. Okay, hang on one second. Just want to make sure I get to the right spot here. Okay, so we have his name, and I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit and let's see if I can nail it. Yes, just about. Okay, here we go. If you're going to have silence, just tell the person what you're doing. Just say, I'm just typing in what you're saying, or I'm looking for information about your previous phone call, whatever it is. Just tell them so there's not silence, because they don't really know if you're still there.
And this was for Social Security?
Yes.
So the person that's handling the call, because the gentleman said that he called about 4 months ago, and now he's calling back because he had his turn down letter. What the person handling the call is doing is looking up his information. And so for whatever reason, she can't find it, and let the caller know what you're doing, and then just begin the process. So what you should be saying next is, well, and say the person's name. You want to say their name throughout the conversation. So just say, I'd like to ask you some questions to see how I can help you. Okay. So just say, I don't see any information in here right now, but what I'd like to do is ask you some questions to see how I can help you. Okay. And then wait for them to respond and go from there. So let's see what happens.
Okay. Well, I'm not finding. I see an auto action, but I'm not finding it in the Social Security. So what I can do is, we take your information and pass it on to the attorney, and then I'll let him know that you were just denied. Okay.
Okay. So to me, so far, even though the person handling the call is kind, I'm not getting that. There's not that love feeling, that feeling of wow, or an experience, or you call the right place. So this is what we need to get comfortable with, not just, dotting our I's and crossing our T's and asking our questions and making sure that we have the details down. That's important, but you have to build around that the love, care, and concern, the empathy, the relationship, the salesmanship. So let's not talk about what we can't do. Let's talk about what we can do. So just say his name again and just move on and just say, you know what? So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to ask you some questions, see how I can help you, okay? And you get his permission, and then you go on and you start the process. Because right now it doesn't really sound that professional, and it doesn't sound like, wow, for him to feel like, you know what, I made the right decision calling today, okay? We can figure out later on what happened when he called before and all of that. Let's just get right to it and help him to feel really good about it, okay? So here we go.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, let me see.
Let me just see that. I want to just turn it up 1 second just in case.
Oh, I call y'all about the auto. Okay. I thought I was about this too. I saved y'all number in my phone. I thought it was about this.
Now listen to what he's going to say.
But it's okay. It's I mean, y'all are just as good as anybody else.
Uh-oh. You're all just as good as anybody else. Wow. Everybody watching right now should be saying, aha, opportunity. That's an opportunity to sell your law firm. I mean, it's not a done deal just because he called you. And then he's called you before, and maybe it was for an auto, and maybe it wasn't for an auto. We can't find it, or then we said we could find something in there. But he's not really concerned about that. And then he says, you're all just as good as anybody else. Well, right there, tell him, yes, we are, but really what we really are. And then boom, tell him why he should choose your law firm. So you all need to know this. Why should someone choose your law firm over all the rest? And this is an opportunity right now to say it. So have that scripted out. Take the time to figure that out as a team and have it, the seal of approval from the top leader at your firm to make sure it is the right answer. And everybody should say the same thing. But right there, we should have said something, because just because he's calling and he called before, it doesn't mean it's a done deal. Okay. But that was a great opportunity to sell. So here we go. Okay, so let me just fast forward here because we're getting into all his contact information and address. So he did ask his address, email, phone number, all of that. But what I want you to do is you need to repeat back that information when you get it. So when you do get it, repeat it back. I would prefer that the contact information was asked at the end of the phone call. We've talked about this. For those of you who are new, you need to keep the 3/4 of the beginning of the phone call externally focused. Externally focused means it's all about them, the person that's calling, empathy, emotions, love, care, and concern, the salesmanship language that I've taught you. It's got to be about them. The internally focused stuff is when we start asking questions that we need answered in our office, like contact information and how did you hear about us? That stuff should be done towards the end of the call, okay? So I'm going to fast forward because that's what we're doing here, but we didn't repeat back anything. We have to do that. Okay, let me just see here. Let me just fast forward because it's about a minute of all of that, and we don't need to hear that for sure. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Country?
No.
Okay. Do you have any children under the age of 18?
Yes. 2.
And what is your marital status?
Married.
Okay.
Okay, use the name of the caller during the screening questions, okay? And even right now, it's okay to say something to this gentleman, something like, thank you so much for answering my questions. You're doing a great job with answering my questions. We really need to break it up. That's called a check-in. We really need to break it up. The person handling the call is, I would say, borderline license and registration. There's a couple of times that she does a good job with singing, which is changing the inflection and the tone in your voice, so you don't sound like license and registration. But I would say for the most part, she sounds more like license and registration when she's asking these questions. There's no empathy, there's no love language, there's no salesmanship, none of that going on. Okay, you gotta really work hard at putting yourself in the person's shoes. I mean, ask yourselves, have you ever had a serious medical condition, or anybody in your family? Has anybody in your family ever had to try to apply for disability before and struggled with it? What kind of experiences have you had? Or if it was a car accident, things like that. What kind of experiences have you had, or your friends or family members had, that you're getting calls about? And you shared those experiences with those people, and it was devastating, difficult emotionally, depression, anxiety, everything sets in. So we've got to stay more focused on that person and their life and their raw story. Okay, so here we go. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in this person's situation needing to call for disability. I do know people that have had to do that, and it's really difficult. It's a difficult situation. It's a difficult process. It's difficult for people to admit that they need to do it, for them to even go to that step. Really hard for them, okay? So keep that in mind. They feel a lot of shame, okay? All right, here we go. Let's see.
And was this the initial level that you've been denied at?
Yes. The first. Yes.
So the gentleman that the person is speaking to, intake is speaking to, is he's just giving you one word answers rather. Try to engage with him a little bit to build that relationship. If you provide empathy and you say his name while you're asking your questions, your screening questions, you will be able to get a little bit more from him. You want to build that relationship with him. You want him to know that you do care and you're not just a law firm, question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. Okay, so you want to really work at that. And the biggest, easiest way to do it is use the person's name in the conversation, okay, and provide empathy. All right, here we go.
First denial, and when did you receive it?
July 1st.
Okay, and so let me see.
So, say, I'm sorry to hear that, the first denial. I mean, this has been going on for a long time for this gentleman. Acknowledge that. And again, remind him he made the right decision calling your firm today. Okay, here we go.
What are your medical conditions that prevent you from working?
I have a hernia in my back and sciatica.
Anything account?
Okay.
Definitely needed to provide empathy there. Wow, it sounds like you've been through a lot. I'm really sorry to hear that.
I've had an operation on my back,
All right.
and it did good at first, but now it's not. I hadn't been to work since.
Also be careful to not interrupt. Let the person finish. And I gotta say again, you really have to work hard at putting yourself in the person's shoes. I mean, this person has been denied already for Social Security. He's got all these physical issues. He's been out of work. It's a really big deal for him and for his family. So, I would say kind of like keep a little journal at your desk and write down to remind yourself each day of experiences that you or family members or friends have had, whatever it's about. It doesn't matter what the category is, or whether it's a car accident or Social Security or divorce. It doesn't matter. Just think about those things and what you witnessed, supporting them and going through it with them. That will help you to keep in mind what these people are going through. I think that's really important to do that. And even to talk about it from team member to team member. So talk about the different phone calls that you get and the names of the people that you speak to just internally in the team, and just to kind of humanize it more, so that you can be there. You've got to practice finding a way to be emotionally involved while still being professional and direct with the people that are calling you. Okay, here we go.
I had the operation on January the 10th, but yes, but I haven't been to work since January the 4th.
Another great opportunity for empathy. Wow. That sounds like a really difficult time. I'm so sorry to hear it. I want you to know that we get calls like this all the time. You made the right decision giving us a call. I'm just going to ask you some more questions here. You're doing a great job. And say the person's name.
Okay. Anything else going on?
I got a hernia. I had a hernia that I had operation on in my groin.
Okay.
And it hurts too. I wanted to. I seen where they got that wire mesh thing on. I was gonna call them, but I hadn't. I don't know.
Okay.
But I wanted to do the wire mesh thing, have it redone or whatever, have somebody to pay for it.
Okay. And
This
Empathy. You need to provide empathy. I mean, could you imagine being in this person's shoes, you or your family, being in a situation where you are in this person's shoes? It's really difficult, difficult emotionally, difficult financially, difficult to dial your number. And if this person doesn't feel like you're with them and you've got their back, they're just going to move on and call somebody else. Okay. So far in this call, we don't really sound different from other law firms. We haven't set ourselves apart from all the rest so far in this call. Okay. If you called another law firm, they would probably sound the same exact way. Question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. Okay. Here we go.
happened on the job. It was the workman comp.
okay, and where are you treating at?
Okay, I'm going to fast forward because he lists a bunch of places that he's treating at. So just hang on for 1 second and let's see if I can nail it. Hang on. Right there. I almost did it. Okay, perfect. Here we go.
Medical provider.
At North Carolina.
Okay, so that's part of it that he's saying. So we need to fast forward just a little bit more. But the thing is too, that I just want to say that even though you're not hearing that part, he lists several places, and we should be providing empathy there. I mean, again, put yourself in that person's shoes, back and forth to different treatment centers and doctors and pain clinics and things like that. It's a lot. It's a lot, mentally and physically. Okay, so let me fast forward again here. Hang on one second so we don't go over all that. And see if I can nail it. Okay, got it. Here we go.
But I was turned down for any more treatment because of my insurance.
Okay.
But this what's going on right now. It wasn't a workman comp situation with my back, but I'm with the hernia in my groin. That was workman comp.
Mm-hmm.
But the hernia in my back, I thought it was on a Sunday morning, and I thought like my kidneys or something was about to explode. So I rushed to the hospital, and then my job wouldn't let me do workman comp.
Okay.
Okay, now, so he got a moment where he felt comfortable to tell a little bit of his story. And, you know, just the picture that he just painted requires a lot of empathy. Say his name, and acknowledge him and say, wow, that's awful. That must have been so scary. I couldn't imagine being in your shoes. This is how, people need to feel like when they call you, you really are there. They're not just a number. They need to feel like they're the only call that happened all day long. And you have to be in a state of readiness for every single call that you handle. That's the career that you've chosen. That's the profession that you're in. And at the same time, provide love, care, and concern, and empathy, and reassurance, and validate the person. I mean, there's so many communication moments in this world, not just at your law firm when you're talking to prospects or when we're talking to clients or team members, but even in our family, with our friends and in our personal life, people don't get validated when they communicate. There's no empathy when they communicate and say how they feel about something. And so a lot of times people just don't speak up. They keep it inside and it builds up. So if they can call your law firm and they can get validation, and there's love taps happening and check-ins happening and singing and hugging them and being that warm blanket on them that you usually get when you go to day surgery or something like that. Those blankets at the hospital, they put like in a microwave sort of, and they put it on top of you and it feels all warm. Same thing. You need to like go through that phone and hug them. You can still get your questions answered. But this gentleman just said a lot of rough stuff. So, think if you haven't had any experiences like this or any bad situations, car accidents, Social Security disability, or friends or family haven't done it, if you really can't pull out an example, then you really have to work at putting yourself in this person's shoes, at listening to what they're saying, so you can repeat back what they're saying to help train yourself to kind of be part of their story, but more to train yourself to stay focused on the story versus the next question. So that's a strategy that you can take. You can quietly repeat things back that they're saying to yourself in your head, so that you're just hearing it back. And again, you're trying to train your brain to slow down and be part of this story with him. Only you're the knights in shining armor. So those are just a couple of examples that you can try, but you have to try on every call. So if it's a challenge for you, you have to make it priority to work on it. And if you have 5 things that you're trying to work on, or 3, just pick one at a time, maybe one each week. And then the following week, add another one. And now it's accumulative. So now the following week, you've got 2 things, because you got to maintain the first one that you already did learn. But it's really important. And I think one of the best things that you could do is role play with team members and a leader, and really make the role playing difficult. Try to make it just like a real call. And the more you role play and you read your scripts, but role playing and listening to your own recorded calls, the better you're going to get at providing all of this relationship building, love, care, and concern, salesmanship, empathy, love taps, check-ins, all these things that I'm talking about, okay? Really wearing your heart on your sleeve. That will help. First off, the reason to do it is because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. You know, this is a law firm. You're here to help people. It is the right thing to do. So that's the first and foremost reason. So you can go home at the end of the day and say, I did the right thing today with this person, with that person, with this person, with that. I was the bright light in their day. I was a shining star for them at that moment. And who knows what they got later on during the day? Maybe nothing, but they could say that they got it from you. The second reason to do it is you will convert more. You will convert more prospects to clients. Quite frankly, these lessons and skills that you're getting for the first responders, the first impressions director, the intake specialist, the essential worker, the first person that's handling these calls is really the same skills and lessons that you should be teaching and using throughout your firm for anybody that communicates with the prospects or clients. Because you don't just have to get them, but you got to keep them. Same thing. Let's go. Let's continue here. Here we go. Okay, let me make sure I'm at my right marker. Here we go.
All right. So do you suffer from any anxiety, depression, anything like that?
I've been out of work.
Listen to how he answers. He didn't just say yes or no, but listen to how he answers. Okay, there's a reason for it.
For 6-7 months, I own my own home. I'm buying a home. I'm the sole provider for my family, and yeah, I cry a lot.
That's how he's answering. So he's not really comfortable with just coming out and saying yes to the anxiety and depression. Those are big words, anxiety and depression. And, you know, there's people that won't admit it, or maybe they don't realize it, but there's also people that feel shame when they say the D word, depression. Okay. Anxiety, not as much, but depression, definitely. And so he didn't want to just say yes to that question. He had to quantify it. And he just ended up saying, so yes, I cry a lot. But you know what? This guy needs a big hug and empathy right here too. Lots of empathy moments in this call. Okay. So if anything, find a way to train yourself. I've given you some examples. I've given you some strategies and things that you can do. Make an effort to work on the empathy. And I tend to feel, I've been doing this for 25 years now. And what I've learned is that the way we treat people on the phone at our office is typically similar to the way we communicate with people outside the office. So in our personal life and even team members. So think about that for a moment. As individuals, you really have to think about what I just said. So just think about it. You know, when you go home today, tomorrow, the next day, ask yourself, wait a minute, do I validate other people's feelings? Do I provide assurance? Do I provide empathy? You know, it's something that only you can answer and you can be really honest to yourself about, but it might be an aha moment for you. And that might help you to provide more of that on the phone calls that you're handling. Okay. The people that are calling for help. Okay.
Any drug or alcohol use?
No.
Right here, we could say, you know what? The next question I'm going to ask you might be a difficult question, but I do need to ask it. Okay. And then ask the question.
Oh.
Okay. And what is your height?
5'7".
Your weight?
175.
And do you have health insurance?
Not now. They just canceled me yesterday.
Okay.
I mean, this is a terrible story. His insurance was just canceled and we didn't provide any empathy or acknowledgement. Terrible story. Okay.
All right. What kind of work do
So
you
they
do?
canceled it. They canceled it on the 3rd. On the 3rd.
Okay. So do you have a high school diploma?
And we just ran right to the next question. So this is like, we're not focused on the person and their situation and their life struggles. We're only focused on getting our questions answered. And then when we ask the question about a high school diploma, just say, okay, again, I've got another question to ask you. It may be difficult, but I do need to ask it, because you know what? People that don't have a high school diploma, they don't feel good about it. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. Okay.
So
What's the last grade you completed?
11.
Okay. And where did you last work at?
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. So he last worked doing at another company doing loading trucks for warehouses. Those are the last couple of jobs that he had. But let me just, he's providing all the different companies and things like that. So let me just fast forward. And then prior to all of that, the last 2 jobs, he was a carpenter for himself for 8 years. So let me just go ahead and get to that spot. And yes, yes. Just about there. Got it. Here we go.
Hey, what did I work prior to that? Oh, I work for myself. I'm a carpenter. So I work for myself for 8 years.
Did you pay taxes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So, are you receiving like any long-term or short-term disability right now from your employer?
Nothing.
You're not receiving?
The
Does your wife
the
work?
long-term and short-term disability turned me down. They wouldn't take it.
Okay. And what about your wife? Does she work?
So again, providing empathy. This is a terrible situation. No long-term, no short-term. He's in a really tight situation, health-wise, medically, financially. And now we're asking for information about his wife. Let's ask his wife's name so that we can use his name and her name in the conversation. Here we go.
Yes.
Okay.
She worked part-time at Walmart.
Okay.
Okay.
She worked 1 or 2 days a week.
Okay. Okay.
So now we're getting to the call to action. Okay. This is the moment of conversion, getting to that step of converting this person. So let's listen to it. Okay.
Looking over everything. I think that this is probably something that we can help you with.
So what I want you to say differently is say his name, and I want you to make it a big deal, because this person is calling for help and he doesn't know if you can help him. And he's been alone doing this on his own for a really long time. So whatever the situation is, when we got someone on the phone and we're asking them question over and over again, and they still don't know if you can help them. They're not really sure, which is why they're calling. That's their desired outcome. And then we finally get to tell them that we can. It should be like fireworks and a drum roll and great news. And, your voice should sound different. You should be like really happy to be able to say that. And like for them, it's like a helium balloon, all the air being released. They can have this big sigh of, wow, that's really great. But you've got to feel that way too. Okay. So say, based on what you've said, I'm happy to say that I think this is something that we can help you with, and use his name. So just say it with a smile in your voice, and that you, in a way that you feel really good, like you're able to say it. So say his name and say, I am really happy to be able to tell you this, but based on everything that you said, I think this is something that we can help you with. And it just will help lighten his load. And it is good news. And you feel good for doing it at your law firm, that you're the ones that can do it. And then to say to them again, I'm so glad that you called. Because like I told you before, we get calls like this all the time. I want you to know you're not alone. We're going to have your back and we can take care of you. There's no reason not to talk like that. Okay, here we go. All right.
So what I'll do is I'll send this over to the intake department, and they're going to send you out some representation paperwork. Only sign where they highlight and don't fill in.
Okay, so this person here isn't intake. Every law firm does it differently. But it's the way, the call that she's handling and her being like the first responder, it's the same as intake. But again, every law firm calls the positions different and they run them a little bit differently, but it's the same thing. So she's talking about that she's going to have intake send over the paperwork, representation paperwork, and it says only sign where they highlight and don't fill anything out and don't date anything. Well, what you need to do is, after you provide him with the good news, to say, here's what the next step is, or what our department intake is going to be. You know, if it's mail, just say mail is going to be mailing to you via Federal Express or whatever it is, a packet, and that packet has information in it. You want to go through all of the information and highlight only where it says to highlight it. Don't do this, you know, so guide him, but then say to him, what I also want to do is if you could open up your calendar, because we got to tighten this call to action up. If you're not going to do it right there on the spot while he's on the phone, if for whatever the reason is, then you got to tighten it up, you know, and have a sense of urgency. We're going to get that out to you. We're going to get, and you need to get that out to him today. It can't be like, you know, maybe today, if not tomorrow. We've got to have a sense of urgency that you're important to us and this is important and speed is critical. And say how he's going to receive it, and say exactly when you're going to mail it. And again, it needs to be today. And then schedule an appointment with him. Say, I've got my calendar open. Do you have yours open? Schedule a follow-up appointment with him. If you're the right person, if not, schedule it for the right person and tell him, I'm scheduling this for so-and-so, so that you can follow up with him and, you know, guesstimate, like if the packet's going to go out today and it's Federal Express or however, just say you should get it in, you know, 3 days. I'm just giving you an example on the ETA for him, and then say, let's put on the calendar so that I'm going to call you and I'm going to review it with you. I'm going to go through it with you to make sure that you understand it and to guide you along. Because the moment you hang up the phone, you know, if you're not doing it on the spot and you're doing it later on by sending out a packet, you got to lock this in and hold him accountable that when he gets it, he will go through it, he will look at it, and he will speak with you at the scheduled time, and he promises to call you back if he needs to reschedule that time, and so that you can give that time to someone else. So you're going to have the call to action, your call to action on when the packet's going to go out, how it's going to go out, you know, how he's going to receive it, your call to action for scheduling a follow-up call to review it with him. Okay, so these are all your call to actions. The call to actions are typically call to action times 2, CTA times 2. The first call to action is yours for everything that I just listed. And then the second call to action is getting him to agree that when he gets the packet, he is going to go through it and look at it. So let's say he gets it before your scheduled day of calling. You want him to agree to go through it. And then when you call him, he'll tell you, I've already gone through it, put it in the mail, or you'll still review it with him. So you're asking him for a call to action that when he gets it, he will make it his responsibility to do it, and even ask him to promise. And then also, when you schedule a follow-up phone call with somebody, besides giving them the date and time, have them promise. So say, whatever the person's name is, do you promise to be available Wednesday at 2:00? And is this still the right number to reach you at on that day? Repeat it, because people have multiple numbers. You want to make sure you get it right. And just say, if you need to reschedule it, you promise to give me a call to let me know, ? Pause, wait for him to answer you. And he'll say, oh yeah, sure, I'll call you. And say, great. That way, not only can I get you rescheduled, but we can give that time to somebody else who's also waiting for an appointment. So that's adding some scarcity and urgency to this situation, to this call to action. Okay, so I've given you different ways to think about it and how you can kind of drill down to it a little bit more. And the other thing is you need to have check-in points. So like love tap, no reason phone calls. So if the call to action has to be a week out, meaning like the follow-up phone call has to be a week out because you do this by, let's just say, mail. I'm just giving you an example. And you're not, you're guesstimating he's going to get it in a week or something like that. And I'm just giving you a pretend example on why you would do love tap calls. Then you need to do, or have somebody else in your department do, just check-in calls. Just call him up before the scheduled date for the follow-up call and just say, just wanted to call, make sure everything's okay, see how you're doing. And that's really it. Just wanted to check in with you. And if you know his wife's name, you can say how they're doing. If you know his kid's name, you can say, how are they doing? Hope you feel better today and you have a great day. Just wanted you to know that we're thinking about you and we're looking forward to that phone call on X day and X time, so that you can tighten up the call to action and the relationship and the intimacy of the relationship and holding him accountable and letting him know you haven't forgotten him. Okay, because you don't want there to be a gap from the time that he calls you all the way to the time that you have that follow-up call where there's no communication. And you got to do everything that you can as if he was right there in the office doing it in person. Okay, so those are examples on call to actions and examples on why and how to use the promise and the 2 call to action CTA times 2. Okay, so let's continue here. And again, being excited about it, that you get to tell this guy that you can help him, because you can't help everyone. And isn't it terrible when you have to tell someone that you can't help them? Well, let's make it great when you say we can help you. Okay, here we go.
Anything out and don't date anything, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get that packet out to you probably today or first thing on Monday. And it's
So this was like a Friday call and the first thing on Monday. That's not okay. You really need to work at, if you can't do it on the phone at that time, then make it like it's just a priority. It's got to go out the same day. Okay, because somebody like this in this situation and going through this for as long as he has been and so many issues, that's a long time to him. I mean, he knows in the back of his mind you're not going to be working on Saturday and Sunday, but it's still not a good message to send to him. Okay, and you should say things like, you are our top priority. We're going to work really fast and hard to get this taken care of as quickly as possible. So you've got to convince him that he's talking to not just to first the right person, but also the right law firm.
as soon as you get it back to us, you'll be hearing back from us and from your legal assistant. Okay.
So the method at this particular firm is, as soon as you get it back to us, you'll be hearing from us, the legal assistant. So I just want to clarify that if that's the case, make sure he understands that a legal assistant, it's not what I do. It's a different role. If you can say who it might be calling, say that person, but you really need to emphasize, we cannot help you. We cannot begin to work on your case until we receive this back from you, this packet back from you with your signatures. So make sure that he really understands that totally, but really following up and tightening it up and getting that packet back to your office is the best way you possibly can, other than doing it yourself, is really the best way to go. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, can y'all put a rush on it? Cause they telling me that I have to come back to work on the 18th or the 16th, and I don't think I can do it.
I mean, he's up against a tough situation. He needs a rush put on this. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I mean, we definitely can. I mean, as soon as we get the packet, we can get you signed up and get the
So we can get you signed up. Like, what does that mean? Here's what you can expect to have happen. Like, in other words, here's all the great things that are going to happen, the different steps that are going to happen as soon as you go ahead and sign that. So give them an idea of what that is, because signed up doesn't really say a whole lot.
If you want to go ahead and file the appeal,
So listen to this part.
you can go ahead and file the appeal.
So how do I file the appeal? It's
You
on
can
the
do it
paper?
yeah, you can do it online. It should be,
So now we're throwing out to him. I mean, if you want, you can basically go do this yourself, is what we're saying. Okay. And that's not what you want to be saying. You want to make him know that he's talking to the right law firm and that you got his back. Your whole team has his back and you're going to be working on his behalf, and he doesn't have to worry anymore. Yes, it's a long process and it takes time, but he doesn't have to worry anymore about what phone calls he has to make, what work he has to do. Okay, so think about it. Starting to offer for him to go ahead and file the appeal, what we should be doing is encouraging him that he's in good hands. Okay.
on your paper how to do it. And you can just
Okay.
go online and file it, or if you want to wait for us to file it, either way is fine. It's whatever you want to do with that.
Either way is not fine. He called for help. He's done doing these things himself. So we need to be talking to him and letting him know you're okay now. I mean, definitely be honest with him about the process and that it's not an overnight process, but you have a whole team on your side now.
Just whenever we give you a call back, let me know whether you filed that appeal or not, okay?
Yes. I've been fighting this thing by
See, listen to what he says. This is exactly everything I just said to you.
myself since January. And I've been doing all the leg work and everything. My job ain't worked up for it. I had Aflac and stuff like that. The day after I got my surgery, I had to get up out my bed and lag my butt down back to the hospital to get the daggone paperwork for my job.
Mhm.
Yeah, they made me do a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have had to do, and I should have had my recovery time, but my recovery time was trying to get my money from them.
Right.
So I
Well,
don't fought this fight long enough. I just need some help.
See, this fight, I've been doing this fight long enough. I just need some help. That's, at the end of the day, that's why he's calling. We're his last hope. He's at the end of his rope. We have got to make people feel like they're going to be okay. They called the right place. Your job is to do all these things for him. His job is to not worry anymore and to get better and to start to be a little bit more stress-free. It won't be like 100% for him with what he's going through, but to not have to worry about all of this is a big deal. He's been alone long enough. He said those words. This is exactly what I tell you to say. You're not alone anymore. Okay?
Yeah, we'll do everything we can to help you, okay? This is not a quick, easy process, trying to get disability from Social Security, but we'll definitely do everything we can for you.
So it's good that we said that. That's the first time that there was any salesmanship. And so that was good. That was good. Okay, hang on. There's a part about getting his social security number and everything. So I need to kind of fast forward. I'm just looking for the right marker on where to do that. The call's just about to end. Okay, we did ask, how did you hear about us at the end of the call, which is good. But what I want you to do differently when they say Google, I want you to say, oh, okay, great. But do you remember what the words were that you typed in when you found us? And then be quiet, zip it up, don't say anything, and document whatever they say. Okay. And okay, let me just try this here, see if I can just get this part in. Hang on one second. Okay.
Like I said, I tried to call y'all before. I tried to use y'all before, and my number was right there in the phone. But I think I just Googled it.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. All right. I look forward to working with you, okay?
I sure appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
So,
All we did was just rush him off the phone there. And so, you want to do like the big red bow. If you're not going to follow the 5-step relationship sales conversion script that we've talked about, Do the big red bow at the end, even if you're doing the 5 steps. And the big red bow at the very end, let's make sure it's 3 steps. So at the very, very end, it's you called the right place. You don't have to look any further. You're not alone. Just say it. Say that at the very, very end. Okay. And it's a great way to end the conversation and to help this person feel like they're going to be okay. It's important to, I would say, based on this phone call, we talk about it a lot, but find different strategies and ways that you can really help yourself dive into the emotional part of the conversation. The love, care, and concern, the relationship building, repeating back what he said, just letting him know that you're there and you can feel it. You can feel it through the phone. Even tell him, I can feel the stress that you must be under through the phone. And keep repeating that he called the right place and know why he should choose your law firm. Even if people don't say, you're the first ones I called, or you guys can do just as good as anybody else. Even if they don't say those kinds of things, you still need to include why they should choose your firm, because just because they called you doesn't mean it's a done deal. There are no do-overs. You've got one shot on this one call, and you are more in the relationship and healing business than you are in the legal business. Okay. Just one thing that I kind of want to mention to everybody, that one of the PILMA members that had sent in a question to me about the greeting. And I just want to share with you that the question was, is it important that we do the welcome greeting that you talk about, Chris, or is it important that we just do the thank you greeting? Both, either way is okay, is fine. What's most important, first and foremost, is having a big voice and a big smile. That's the first thing. Sound like you love your job. And it's like the first call of the day, even if it's 4:45. That, your tone and your voice is more important than anything. Then you can pick which greeting. So welcome to ABC Law Firm. This is Chris speaking. How can I help you? Most firms don't say welcome. It's different. And it's not what somebody would expect calling a law firm, let alone a business, especially these days. So it is warmer and more welcoming and more inviting to the person. But if you want to say, thank you for calling ABC Law Firm. This is Chris speaking. How can I help you? That's okay too. So you just decide what the best one is and what you want for your law firm and how you want your team to sound. I will tell you that your intake specialist with the welcome, it takes them a little bit to get used to it. But most of the time what I hear from students is that, at first it felt really weird and uncomfortable and it seemed strange saying it. But once I got used to it, I really liked it. And I started getting some comments or feeling like their stress kind of going away when I said it. So again, you choose. What's most important is big voice, big smile, have that tone, sound like you love your job, regardless of which one you choose. Okay, everybody? So that's my response for that. Please email me at phonesuccessdoctor@gmail.com. Your comments or your questions, or if you have some requests of things that you want me to focus on for the next class or maybe the class after that. That's a great way to do that. Okay, everybody, so long. Have a great rest of the day. Love that you're joining these classes and you love the PILMA intake training. So keep doing them. Talk to each other. So long. Bye, everybody.